everyone, welcome to our awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv, where every day about this time we are doing great FileMaker training on a wide variety of topics. So I want to welcome everyone here to this event. This is kind of a special event. This is kind of a trial. In fact, it's so trial that the HR department at RCC is concerned about what I might say. So they have assigned Jeremy Delara. Please wave, Jeremy. Jeremy's here.
Hi.
Jeremy's here to make sure that I behave myself. Actually, in all reality, Jeremy is one of the video editors who has to clean up the messes I make. And so he's here to encourage me to not discuss four-letter words. And if we can do that, then he doesn't have to edit that out of the video, which is really awesome. Less work for him. But I keep him gainfully employed, which is also kind of the cool part about it.
Yeah, I can't complain too much about adding various animal sounds to a stream if it keeps my job intact.
Today's topic is, it's for all, some of you don't need this, but there's always people that you know, if you're in the FileMaker world, who haven't upgraded to the latest version of FileMaker. And I'm not talking about people who are like 1 year off and they update every year or something. We're talking about people who haven't upgraded for 5, 8, 10, 12, 20 years. This is a conversation for them today to ask questions. We are not passing judgment upon you. I totally get why you might not want to upgrade. However, I think I can make a fairly compelling case that is probably in your best interest on the whole to do that. So before we get into that, if you go to fmtrain.tv, you can see the screen right here. You go to fmtrain.tv, you can see the upcoming broadcast schedule. Today is upgrades. Tomorrow is detecting, I guess, duplicate images in FileMaker. Interesting topic. Nick Hunter's talked about that. It's a fairly short topic. We might throw something else in there too. But once again, I've been doing a lot of digital document management with one of my customers. I have one active project. I'm the CEO. I've got a bunch of people that work for me, but I still get FileMaker certified and I still build databases. So when I talk to you, you know that it's not like some politician who's just making up. Oh, damn it, Jeremy, make a note. It's like real combat experience, right? And that's why I love the FileMaker platform. It does such great things. In fact, next week we're going to be having a conversation. For some of you, you're trying to convince someone you should check out FileMaker. It's a good fit. It's a good fit for them. And so there's a live stream we're doing next week called Making the Case for FileMaker. It's going to be heavy on that conversation, trying to make it as not pervasive, but persuasive as possible. Pervasive would be good too if it was everywhere, but that would be fun. Now we're thinking about making this topic a recurring one for today. So let's talk about that. If you want to transfer command to me, Margaret. This is my screen right here, more or less, and we're going to go through and talk about all this kind of stuff. All right, so conversation today, let's get back on topic. I want to encourage you folks, and I need to say this as much as I can. I want to encourage you to ask questions because I am here not to entertain myself, although I don't want to be bored. So you might see a little bit of me entertaining myself, but I'm here to help you be successful. At the end of the day, if you folks don't derive value or get something out of this, I have failed. So I need you to ask questions, even if you think that's the dumbest question on the planet. Today is, okay, there are days where there are dumb questions. Okay, let's just be clear about that. People say, there's a dumb question. Kind of yes and no, right? Like passing a cop on the freeway. That's dumb. Okay, should I do that? No. Okay, don't ask the question. Okay. However, today I want to encourage all of you to ask every question. I'm honest. I want to help you, but I can't help you if you don't tell me what your problem is. Upgrading the FileMaker installation. So I'm going to start clicking through here. This is the progression of learning. We talk about this. This is applicable to everyone here, although I would assume that maybe the intermediate developers are semi-aware of this, and the senior developers over here are super aware of it, if that makes sense. The idea is that if you're doing FileMaker professionally, you should kind of know what the benefits are of upgrading and why using the latest versions. The business owners don't care. And so in a lot of ways, the conversation is about them, or it's about other people who they do development, and you're an internal developer, you work at a company, you're helping them run their databases. Maybe you do it part-time. It's not even your full-time job. That's super common. Then please ask questions today. I want to help you out. But we do identify these different kind of personas, as we say. We keep it simplified, but different personas. Very helpful. There we go. So staying up to date with FileMaker. When I say staying up to date with the FileMaker platform, I'm talking about every 12 to 24 months, you are, and 24 on the outside, is you're getting up to date. Now, as a professional developer, I have to stay up to date. I can't be a personality and talk to you about some sort of knowledge if I don't use the product. So I have to use the latest ones. I even have to use sometimes things I don't want to use. But on the whole, I stay up to date. If you stay up to date every 12 to 24 months, I'm not really talking about you, but this is good stuff to know. And everything in here you should kind of be doing already. I'm talking about the people who right now are on maybe 19 or later or earlier, right? That's what this conversation is about. Because if you go through the process of getting up to date, you're going to have the option of seeing huge performance upgrades, security upgrades, new features, which actually is a big deal. But in a lot of ways, the performance, a lot of times people have a FileMaker solution. It does what they want it to do. It's just like, yeah, but when I go on vacation and I'm in Europe, or you live in Europe and you come to America, or you go to Australia, somewhere else, the performance is slow. The remote access is one of the areas that gets a lot of love from Claris. And every release, it goes faster. In some releases, it's gone like much, much, much faster. So there's a lot of things to get from this. So these are basically the four major areas I would identify separately as the benefits of staying up to date: performance upgrades, security updates, new features, etc. And the bottom one, of course, is not trivial because people stumble into this all the time. It's kind of like if you went on a nature walk in the Ukraine, that might be bad, depending on where you went, because there are landmines everywhere. Upgrading your computers, updating your phones, updating your operating systems without any regard to the software that's on them is that kind of walk. You're probably not going to run into anything, but if you get blown up, A, you were warned that there might be mines out there, and B, you knew it and you took the risk. So understand that with new computers, new operating systems, you have to update the software that goes with it, right? And of course, this gets back to this bigger kind of question is, should I even upgrade, right? Because this whole thing, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And I get that. I totally get that. I'm such a big believer in not breaking something that works. The issues are that if it's not broke, don't fix it. I get that. And if you could guarantee it would never break, then you'd be fine. But the rub is that if you buy new computers or you have new software or people being people, there's always that percentage of the population that's going to steal your car, steal your bank account, steal your data out of your FileMaker, or ransomware it or something. So you've got this, this protection from Claris, and security is a big part of this because Claris is part of Apple. At the end of the day, Claris is like this little sub-department of Apple. I'm in an Apple building right now. I'm at Claris headquarters. And and Apple does not want to be on the front page of the New York Times with some sort of security problem. And so they spend a lot of time making sure that the security issues are aggressively addressed. They're one of the best companies about that. You get that benefit here. FileMaker becomes faster. And here's the important part. If you decide to upgrade and you do it proactively, you're doing it on your schedule. This is kind of I was doing this slideshow and talking about this, and this is a peripheral thing right here. We had a customer with this the other day. They had a serious bug. We couldn't figure out what it was. It was like, well, Richard, you suck as a consultant. Okay, yeah, I'm a horrible consultant. That being said, there was a bug we couldn't fix. And Claris would not take it seriously unless the customer was on the latest version. And the customer at the time was on FileMaker 20. The current version is FileMaker 21. So we told the customer, said, listen, we want to submit this to Claris. They're not going to give a about it and pay attention. They might say, oh, we greatly value our customers. And then they take your bug report and launch it into the trash can, okay? Don't pay attention to it. But if you're on the current version of the product, then they're like, it's like Scooby-Doo moments, like, oh, we should pay attention to this, right? And suddenly they took it very seriously, found the bug, did a fix for it, and sent the fix to the customer to test out. But the customer had to be on the latest version for that. So there's benefits to be on the latest version. The biggest one, though, is if you proactively upgrade, like you don't wait for bad things to happen, you can do it on your schedule, when you have time, not when you're not over Christmas break necessarily, unless you want to, not over New Year's, not over whatever holiday, not where you're on vacation, right? Not at 2 a.m. in the morning, right? So if you can proactively do it, you do it on your schedule. If you don't want to upgrade, then eventually the problems will find you and they will begin to burn and you will have an unscheduled fire. It's a very important concept. So moving forward, business management, I'll just simply remind, I didn't want to get too businessy into this, but fundamentally, if you're in management at some level or with an organization, you want to remediate risks, then you want to actively remediate them as you have time. You don't want to pretend they don't exist. Pretending things don't exist might feel great for 3 or 4 or 5 years, 10 years, but at some point you get to a spot where you're just stuck and it doesn't work at all. And instead of you remediate on your schedule, like when I have time, okay, I'm at this in 2 weeks, where the big rush is over, we'll have a little bit more time. Let's get with the FileMaker folks or get with whoever and see if we can work out an upgrade. And that's the whole kind of concept here. So you should be able to upgrade pretty, I don't want to say simply, but as a general rule, upgrading from FileMaker 7 all the way to 21 is not a killer thing as a general rule. If you have FileMaker Pro 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, or a version prior to FileMaker Pro, you're talking about something that's older than 1990, so we're talking something that's in excess of like 35 years old. You can't really convert those solutions. You can, technically they convert, but a lot of things break. And if you have a very simple file, like a 1 table or 2 tables and a couple layouts, then yeah, go through the conversion and see if it works, okay? But we have some people who've built, full-on accounting systems or full-on CRMs. They never upgraded. And it's that upgrade from 6 to 7, which is the killer, right, on that. So if you're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, at the end of the day, really, you need to rebuild it. You need to think about it that way. If you want a second opinion, that's fine. But some people are like, whoa, FileMaker 5 still works on my PC, so I want to use that. Okay, understand that Claris, there's no one at Claris here who knows anything about that. So if there's a problem, you're literally super duper on your own, okay? In my company, all the people who knew how to do these old ones this old are either dead or retired, and I'm not being mean about it. I could do it, but I'm not going to work on your project because I got to run the company. But I've seen FileMaker 5 or 6 before. The number of people could do that, they're all 70 plus years old for the most part. We're talking old software. So once again, if you're on a version that old, think about a rebuild. If you have FileMaker 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11, it should convert and work fine. And I always say should. The file format for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is called FP7. If you take an FP, and we're going to do this today, you take an FP7 file, you put it on FileMaker 21, it'll do a conversion to the FMP12 file format. If I had some people who should know better come to me and go, Richard, why are you talking about FMP12 with the latest version of FileMaker? Because the file format for FMP12 was so good and so robust that Claris hasn't needed to re-architect it. So they still use the FMP12 file format, which means that if your current solution is crm.fmp12 or something, you can open it with any version of FileMaker between 12 all the way up to 21. Pretty cool. But keep in mind, if you have new features in it that you put in from like 18, 19, 20, then you close it and you open it in FileMaker, say 13, you may get these red X's where FileMaker sees a tab control or a slide control. It doesn't know what to do with it, so it just X's it out. So it can read the file, but it sees things it doesn't know what to do with, so it has a fit. So once again, I'm simply educating everyone. And once again, questions, please step up and ask the question. So FileMaker 12 to 21 uses the FMP12 file format. So let's talk about if the database is mission critical. Let's talk about the steps to a successful upgrade. And one of the things, Margaret, we should do is take all these and put them into a single text file. We'll make that available. Put this on a link in the description of the video when we post it. Generally, the video guys do the video edits about 2 or 3 days later, business days later, the video gets posted. But understand first off, the first and foremost thing is that, once again, if you're going to take an older solution, especially one where it's like 19 or previous, it's really beneficial to do a little bit of testing on it with the new version of FileMaker. So you take your FileMaker solution, you want to test it in FileMaker. In the current time for this video, the current release is FileMaker 21. It's released in the year 2024, but they call it version 21. The idea is for you to take your FMP12 file or a 7 file and get it running in FileMaker 21 and test it there. It's the idea is that you test it, and if the testing goes badly, you're not committed to it, right? It gives you time to like come up with a strategy to fix the one thing that's broke that seems kind of weird. It doesn't print correctly or something else, whatever, something happens. And so your team, your staff, that you're collaborating with need to continue to be using the older system, whatever version it is that you've come to know and love. And then you take a copy of the database of your system and you load it into FileMaker 21 on a FileMaker 21 server. And you have FileMaker Pro 21 or Go 21 or WebDirect. And then you test it to make sure it's working. And so these are things that are being done in parallel. And so that's a very, very important concept. So understanding that we're going to have the live, what we call the live server and the test server, two different servers with different databases. One will be the older version, one will be the new version. Next thing we want to do, and this is still, we're kind of in the planning stage right now. One was to understand the live and the test issue, so you're aware of that. Second thing to be aware of is a big snag that people run into is checking the all the users' computers to loosely know what their operating system is. And so on Windows, if you're on 10 Pro or 11 Pro, more or less, you can run the latest version of FileMaker, okay? On Macintosh, it's the last two versions of the operating system the last couple of years, right? So 2-3 years, you want to check those numbers. We'll talk about how to do that momentarily, but the idea is that you don't want someone who says, oh, I got Windows 98, I really love it, or Windows 7. Windows 7 wasn't necessarily a bad operating system. I don't use it, but for Windows, it was a major upgrade for them. I'm still using Windows 7, kiss my ass, I'm not upgrading. Well, then you've got a person in your company who's not going to be able to run the latest version of FileMaker. So what do you do with that organizationally? Are you in charge of that person? Can you encourage them to get a new computer or something, right? There's some sort of conversation there, but you want to do the planning on this in advance, right? Because there are people, literally, I run into them. Most all of us at some point buy new computers, but computers are not free, so we don't really do it unless there's a compelling reason. And I've met people who they buy a 1990s computer, then they go on eBay trying to still find the 1990s computers, so they still run the old operating system, the old software, so they never have to upgrade the software. Eventually, you can't get computers anymore that work because all of them that still run are in museums.
I have a question.
Yes.
And they're talking about this particular case about checking a user's computer. Can the old versions of FileMaker not talk to the new server?
Yeah. So the rule of thumb is that, and this is in a different video we have, but absolutely, it's an absolute great question. As a general rule, I'm going to give you a general stay out of trouble rule. If you have version, I'm going to randomly pick a version of FileMaker server. It's way out of date, way old. FileMaker server 17. The clients that can connect to that server, generally speaking, will be the matching number, so 17 clients to a 17 server, and then one version ahead and one version behind. If you follow that rule, you almost never have a problem. So if you have a 17 server, your clients could be 16, 17, 18. Now, depending upon the release and other things that have to do with Claris engineering here in the building where I'm at, when they're discussing things, sometimes they will widen that out further, but you can't take it to the bank. For example, right now, the current shipping version of FileMaker server is 21. That server can talk to a 21 client or a 20 client. And that's my rule. I guarantee that you're good with that. But if you read the technical documentation, which we're going to get to here momentarily, if you read the fine print, you can see you can go as far back as 19.4. And so that's like a little bit even further back, right? And so once again, the situation may change from release to release, but generally at least one full release ahead and one full release backwards is the rule of thumb that we have with that. The next so first we had the discovery that we're going to have a test server, which will test the new one. Meanwhile, the live server has the older software. We're still using it because we want our organization to keep going. Then you need to think, so then can the users, if the users, okay, so say for example, a user has, I'm using Windows 7, or they're using Mac OS 10.15 or something. and they haven't upgraded because they didn't want to upgrade. Can they upgrade? Is it possible that they can upgrade and they just haven't done it? Or is their hardware reached the maximum of which it can go? We have that problem, especially on the Apple side of things. The Apple hardware tends to be good. Here's the thing with Apple real quick. Apple makes some really good hardware, like really reliable hardware. Their lasts like 10 plus years. That's how long the Windows machines don't have them, never really last that long. I have Macs that are 12, 13, 14 years old. They still run fine because they have high quality parts in them. The rub is that Apple doesn't, only supports them for so long, and you get to a point where the machine's fine, but it can't run the latest operating system. So you run into that, especially on the Mac side. Well, this Mac Pro works fine, but it's stuck on an operating system from 4 years ago because the chips are sufficiently old. On the Windows side, they always hope that your stuff dies and you have to get a new one. It kind of is a self-correcting problem. Once again, I'm not telling you buy one or the other. I'm just telling you, if you're in these platforms, most time on Windows, you're not going to have less of an issue because you're flipping your computers more often. On the Mac side, they don't flip as often, and sometimes you get people with a really old computer.
Yeah,
so
laptop, I only upgraded because it couldn't run the upgraded version of FileMaker. I was on 18.
Yes, right. So you upgraded your operating system because, okay. Yeah, and yours is still good for a while, but yeah. So Margaret's laptop is 5 years old. How many Windows laptops that are 5 years old still run at 100%? Awesome. It's pretty rare. So Pro users, so Pro is Mac and Windows users. So now we're on to additional considerations and questions. So assuming that the operating systems can all be brought up to speed and up to date, are there any client-side plugins that you're running? So like the Monkey Bread plugin. Well, we had this plugin, we use it. It say that like we have the Monkey Bread plugin, and it adjusts the images for us. It rotates the images. It does some automatic cropping. It does some labeling, and it saves it into a container field. And so, well, you're almost certainly you're going to need a new version of the plugin, almost guaranteed. So you're going to need to reach out to the plugin manufacturer and see, A, are they in business? And B, can you buy the upgrade and does it work with what you want to do, right? Because normally what happens, FileMaker comes out with a new version. So like June 4th, Claris comes out, FileMaker comes out with a new version. Claris comes out with a new version of FileMaker, June 4th. And then the plugin manufacturers might take 6 months to support that or update. So you need to think about that. Now, some of them, like Monkey Bread, support it the day it ships. They've already updated. They're right on the ball. That guy, Christian Schmidt, is awesome for that. But not everyone does that. So you need to check with your plugin vendor on that. Moving forward, while we're at it, we want to see if you installed any of these same plugins on the server. If you have a plugin on the server, then that helps WebDirect users. Also, FileMaker Go users can take advantage of that because you can't put plugins directly on FileMaker Go on the iPhone or iPad as a general rule. Some of you could think about the weird case where you can put a plugin on those devices. Let's just stay out of the weeds, edge cases. For the vast majority of us, plugins don't work on iPhone or iPad. If you put it on the server and then you connect to a database running the server, then you have access to that plugin. Pretty cool. So you have this plugin issue, okay? What I want to suggest is that you check out this right here. It's called FileMaker 24 Tech Specs. If you click this link on the Claris website, you type Claris FileMaker 2024 Tech Specs. And if you scroll through this, you can see that this was the question about interoperability. Like if I have FileMaker Server 21, what can it talk to? So 21, 20, one version back, and then if you read the fine print, additionally, it'll dip this far back, okay? So that's one thing. Then you're scrolling down, well, if I'm on client, what kind of server can I connect to? It's the same, it's just the same diagram, just you look at it from a different side. So what versions of Mac? Operating system 13 and 14, Sonoma Ventura, and then eventually the new ones, I guess Sequoia at some point. I haven't seen that yet. I would not install Sequoia on the first day because invariably there'll be something that gets broke and then there'll be some little update from Claris. If you're on Windows, you need Windows 10 or 11, Enterprise or Pro Edition 64-bit. No 32-bit software, okay? No 32-bit software. All 64-bit. Okay, so this document, this technical requirements is in here. If you're wanting to know what server to run on, you can look at this stuff. You should be looking at this. If you have a big upgrade, you have a big team. If you use Ubuntu, Once again, the 04s are what they call long-term support. It's always the April. That's the month of the year. And so the Claris has not come out yet with 2404 because April of this year just went by. But let them settle it out. Let them get everything lined up. Eventually, you'll be able to install 2404. It'll work. But officially, not yet. Talks about the minimum amount of RAM and stuff. If you're buying computers with 2 gigs of RAM, you should just turn in your computer person badge, right? That's just bad. 4 8s are the absolute minimums, and if you're buying anything, they should have at least 16. And I'll just tell you right now, without that much more money, and your life will be so much easier. WebDirect, big one. If you're using a web browser as your client, Nick Hunter's been doing training. We started WebDirect training this week. This is the specs for this: Safari 17 or Chrome 122 or Edge 122, right? So, but you need to know these things, right? And so these are the supported browsers. So you might be able to go backwards and use an older browser, but if it does something wonky or weird, right? Or I want to use Firefox or Opera or something else, right? Yeah, your mileage may vary because Firefox generally will work because it mimics Chrome fairly well. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, there's no one to complain to because Claris doesn't officially support it. So I'm going to close that right here. But this is all kind of important stuff. WebDirect users, this is that slide right here. So we've discussed WebDirect. Once again, technical specifications. I would just go on the browser. There we go. I would just do a search for Claris or FileMaker 2024 technical specification. I would do those 4 words right there, and you'll get the link. Okay. Steps, additional specifications. Are you using ODBC on the FileMaker server? Are you using PHP, XML, gateways, other advanced stuff? So if you have FileMaker and it talks to other database systems, I mean, not other FileMaker systems, fine. But if it's talking like Oracle or SQL, or you're having some sort of integration with an API, like it talks directly to Dropbox or something, those are all areas that you're going to need to address. You may have to install drivers or other technical software on the FileMaker server before it'll work. So that's important to be aware of. So if you don't have these things up here, let me go back. I blew that. I didn't mean to go backwards. If you don't have these things right here, if you don't have these, then your upgrade is going to be much more simplified. So up until this point, the idea is that you're doing planning on paper. You looked at all the users' laptops. If you're the boss is one thing, but if you have a boss you work for, you check their computer for sure to make sure that they can run the new version. You also check their home computer, like, boss, what computer do you have at home? Do you use FileMaker? Connect to it there? Yes, no. If they do, make sure, nothing like having an unplanned job evaluation, an unscheduled job evaluation, right? We don't want to do that. So far it's been planning. We haven't taken any concrete actions yet. Now, the next thing is kind of an interesting deal, is that this is back to this idea that we need to have a test server. And we don't want to, so I'm restating kind of item number 1. We don't want to mess with the live server. So say the live server is FileMaker 16 or 12 or something, 7. We don't want to mess with it. We want a brand new server, which means that if you're using Amazon or something, this is a snap because you can spin up a new server. If you have a physical server, you need a new server. Well, I don't want to buy a new server. Okay. Odds are, if you have a piece of hardware from 10 or 12 years ago, it probably won't run the current operating system correctly anyway. So whether you're forced to buy one or you buy one now because you're in a test environment, I think you're probably going to have to bite the bullet on this thing. Because what we don't want to do is say, well, I'm using FileMaker 12. We're going to install FileMaker 21 on it. So you wait till Friday night, everyone goes home, then you shut the server down, you copy the databases off, you tell it to run a upgrade to the latest version of Windows or the latest version of whatever Mac operating system. Then you install the latest version of FileMaker. Now you've overwritten your live server. And so you have to make this conversion. By Monday morning, it must be functional, or your business or organization, whatever, is dead in the water. That's a real threat. That could really happen. It has happened. It does happen all the time because people don't pay attention to this, right? So, because what happens if you have a test server and a live server, right? And the test server goes badly, no big deal. The live server is still running, the company is still running. And right about the time that you realize there's a problem and you need to keep, the planned migration on Monday, well, we're going to put that off. It's all good except this one connectivity piece with PayPal isn't working quite the way we want it to do to process credit cards or something. So we're going to defer that. And we're going to talk to the consultant, make some planning, and another couple weeks of work here and there, whatever, and we'll get it done. But if you commit to it and you blow up your live server and you go down this road, there's no rollback. There's no rollback. That's what I'm saying. It's really kind of a big deal. So really need to think about this. And then you're like, well, once it's really good and we want to go live with a new version, how do you do that? You close down both FileMaker servers. You take the files that are on the live server, the FMP12 files, you copy them and put them on the new server. Then you bring that new server up. You make sure everyone send a company-wide email, organizational email. Yes, we have a new FileMaker server. Here's the link for it. Your credentials are the same. Make sure that you're using the new version of FileMaker 21. This is how to install it, blah, blah, blah. As opposed to telling everyone on Monday morning that, well, we upgraded the FileMaker server, but it went badly and we cannot roll backwards because there's no undo command when you start overwriting operating systems. There's no like Command Z for that. Doesn't work that way. So yeah, we want to be very careful with that, just on a general rule. And so if you're only using ProGo or WebDirect, which are the basic clients and maybe a client-side plugin, then we here at the Livestream people might be able to help you out with this. If you want to try, and we're going to kind of go through the machinations of this. We're going to go through this momentarily here, but if you have an older file and you want to try it on FileMaker 21, get with my team and we will put it on a test server for you that you can try out. Okay. We're not going to give you access to the server because we're going to let you try it for a couple weeks. After a couple weeks, we're going to shut it off. Right. I'm not in the hosting business, to be very clear about this. If you work with a good FileMaker consultant, they should be able to help you one way or the other. But FileMaker allows you to download a trial, a demo of FileMaker server. I want this to be as frictionless as possible for everyone. So if you don't have a lot of ugly needs, like, well, we got ODBC and Oracle and all this other stuff, if you're one of those kind of people, you're going to really have to go and set up your own server. But I would like people to try FileMaker 21, take their old solution, let's put it on FileMaker 21. You download a trial of FileMaker Pro 21 for Mac, Windows, or Go, or whatever you want to do. Then try it out and see how it works, right? If I can help you with that, that's great. But at the end of the 2 weeks, you're off, regardless, right? You need to buy your own or whatever, because we're not in the hosting business. We don't do that kind of stuff. But I'm in the business of helping you be successful. It's so important. I want you to go forward and use the new versions of FileMaker and have the performance improvements and have the security improvements and all these things. Very, 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 very important. Margaret, questions?
Kind of related to the plugin question earlier. The people who made my plugin are no longer in business. What do I do?
Realistically, that's kind of why I only like to use plugins from reputable companies who I know they're not going to be going anywhere. I like 360 Works. I like Monkey Bread Software. I guess Productive Computing, they've been around for a while. They're not going to go anywhere with their stuff. I don't know what plugin is. Do we know what plugin it is? Because really you've got so it sounds to me like you've got a plan, but you have this one thing where the plugin does something. And if it's old enough, FileMaker might do it for you automatically, but there's going to be a little bit of fixing FileMaker in there to work around that plugin issue or to bring another plugin in to solve the problem, right? If they have an idea of what that plugin does, they want to type into Discord, Twitch, or YouTube, let us know. Because realistically, you could solve most problems by using the Monkey Bread plugin.
Container management. It's a container management plugin, is what it was. So. Really,
container management. So is that 360? Is that Super Container from 360 Works? Because
I don't know if they even necessarily they haven't
no.
said. So.
You could, but that would be a conversion. You'd want to do that anyway, because FileMaker now So that's good question. So once upon a time, there was this thing called digital document management. And like a lot of things at Claris didn't think it was very important. And I had 80% of my customers all wanting to put PDFs and Word files and things into FileMaker databases for digital document management. And Claris went, not important. So 360 Works came out, probably the most successful third-party plugin of all time. They were selling that thing hand over fist. And we used it. I even did a DEF CON presentation on it because we considered it so mission critical that everyone had to have this third-party product. So eventually Claris came out with remote containers or external containers, and super container is not necessary anymore. I had to go through a little conversion process to move my stuff over. So you might have to do a conversion. However, if you plan and do it yourself, once again, one of my biggest suggestions about willingly doing the upgrade is that you can willingly do it now and kind of get it done and get it scheduled, or you can wait for something bad to happen where it doesn't work at all. In which case, then you're either out of business or you're going to have to clear your schedule and work on that fire. And so I'm not trying to cause anyone anxiety, but like if you never change the oil on your car, for those of you who have cars, or motorcycles or something, if you never change the oil in your car, eventually the engine's going to fall out of the thing, right? It'll just, bad things will happen. And you don't know when it's going to be. I think if you have a Toyota or a Honda, it'll probably go further before the engine falls out. But it's you have some mandatory maintenance that's coming, and when it happens, it will be completely broke down. If you decide to do it now on kind of proactively, then you can schedule it when you have time, as opposed to, once again, being forcibly handled that way. So if some of you want to try out FileMaker 21, send an email to support@rcconsulting.com, and what we'll do is we will help you with your FileMaker Pro file, and assuming it doesn't require a bunch of server-side plugins and crazy stuff, we'll drop it on the server for a couple weeks and let you try it out. If you have a consultant you're working with, there's a lot of great consultants in the FileMaker community. Call, pick up your phone, speed dial, whoever you're going to talk to. If it's Proofgeist or Soliant, Wim over there, any of these, the high-quality consultants, ones that we work with, yeah, that'd be great. Or give us a call if you've lost their number, then you can always email us here at my team. All right, moving forward. Margaret,
Before you wander off, we have more questions.
Yeah,
so
go with questions.
You're gonna stop, pause.
Okay, go with questions. We're gonna go backwards. Go.
We're gonna do Sherry. I have FileMaker Server 19 perpetual license. Does this include the FM21 upgrade?
There are two kinds of licenses effectively. There's a subscription model, which Claris really likes people to be on. And then there's perpetual. Perpetual is the idea that you buy it once and you own it forever. The problem is that lends itself to thinking that you own it forever and you never have to upgrade. 19, if you have 19, it's working good right now. Now is the time to start planning upgrading before you run into a problem with it. The question, when you buy a perpetual, it will generally come with 1 year of maintenance. So it's been more than a year since 19 was being sold to people. So you're probably out of your maintenance period unless you bought like 3 years of maintenance or something. So if you buy a perpetual and you buy maintenance with it, that's basically kind of the same as a subscription. During the maintenance period, you get all the updates. If you're under an active subscription, you get all the updates. So you're going to need to talk to your FileMaker sales rep, or talk to my team, support rcconsulting.com, whoever you want to talk to, and figure out what version you have, and then get the upgrade pricing for that. There'll be an upgrade tier, I'm sure, for FileMaker 19 that you can get into. They'll save you some money on it. You don't have to buy it from scratch. Here's the deal. If you buy a subscription, it's cheaper for 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's a cheaper avenue. If you buy perpetual, it's cheaper after about 6 years or something, right? The rub is that people with perpetual don't feel the need to buy the maintenance, so they don't get the upgrade, so they get stuck. And so getting stuck on a version like, oh, well, it works great on FileMaker 17, so I'm not going to worry about it. that's that thought process, right? You get into. And so what I'm trying to do is, I'm not telling anyone anything nefarious and bad is going to happen tomorrow, but as a general rule, things break down. Computers break down, operating systems break down, hackers and bad people find ways into systems. And maybe you want a new feature, better performance, right? So that's a very, very, very important idea. So the answer is you probably can get upgrade pricing. I thought that perpetual was the way to go because I always kind of liked the idea of I own it and no one's going to take it away from me kind of thing. But Claris kind of pushed me into moving to a subscription. I have a 25 pack for my company, and I'm on a subscription, and it's not that terribly much, and I pay for it every year. Then I never anymore have to worry about whether I can get the upgrade or not. Just because an update comes out doesn't mean you have to buy it. Remember I said every 12 or 24 months, make sure you upgrade. So if you're on FileMaker 20, if you skip 21 and go to 22 when it comes out, fine. I think there's an area of reasonableness, but you're under active subscription, so you can take advantage of it if you want, is the idea, right? You're legal, you get all the updates, and if you have a burning desire to do it, you can. I think that's really the way to go, is what I would recommend.
Okay, so to make sure that I understand, and hopefully this helps Sherry some, if you buy perpetual license, that means that Sherry only owns FileMaker 19. She doesn't own any of the upgrades.
She got the upgrades for 1 year, whatever came out within that year.
Got
if that
it.
makes
Okay.
sense. So if she buys 19, say 5 or 19.6, then 20 comes out, then she could upgrade to 20 if she wanted. Okay. Whatever that window is, you'd have to look at the invoice and then see what was available, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we have 2 other questions.
Yep,
The
go.
licensing question is very, has FileMaker Server 21 been stable right off the bat? We're upgrading from 17. Should we go to 20 first, make sure that's good and stable? And then
No.
our FM consultant suggested 20 since 21 is pretty new still.
All right, so last week, Claris shipped their first bug release fixes for 21 servers. So last week, if you're part of our live stream, you know about it every day. We talk about this at this time. Last week, about a week ago, Claris shipped 21.0.2. .2 was their bug release for server, just for server. They fixed a couple security holes and then also fixed some WebDirect performance improvements and probably a bunch of stuff they didn't tell us about. So the V2 release of 21 is in market. I totally agree. Anytime you have a V1 of a product, a version 1, right? It always makes me nervous, right? But V2 has a bunch of fixes in it. We had already started using 21.1 because Jacob Taylor, who's the server guy, is on vacation this week. He always likes to get into it a little early, but he also knows it's his if you commit to a V1 and it goes sideways, right? So we didn't find any problems, but there were apparently some problems, and so that's why there was a V2 release on that. If you're going to do 20, I mean, if your goal is 21, I would set up a test server on 21 V2 or 21.0.2. Okay, if you want to do 20, the stable landing spot's 20.0.3 was the last version of 20. That was really stable. That one was really stable. I just don't know how many more things are out. There's always a risk with that, right? But if you have a test server, then you can, QA it, try it out, and figure out what the deal is. But if you upgrade the latest version, then you're going to be good further into the future if you can do that. I'm pretty happy. I upgraded my personal server to this is one of the servers that we use as a test one here. This one just got the update, so it's 21. This is the administrative interface, so you haven't seen this before. That's the current 21.02. This is the latest right here. Okay. And so, and it has some improvements and things in here. This is nice. But if you're married, if you really want 20, then 20.0.3, the last version of 20. You could check this stuff out a little bit. If I go to Claris FileMaker, and then I say updates, and you'll get a page, and this is what it shows you. So 20, so you see it here, but you can't download it off here from a public site for server. They don't want people downloading servers from the public site. This would come to you as part of the email, part of your license agreement. So they're just trying to cut back on piracy a little bit. If you're under current subscription, the link that you got in your email should still work. So, but the last good one for 20 was 2003. The current one, which we think is as good as 2102, but I know for a fact that one's good. We used that for a while. And then before that, 19.64, there was an update there. But anyway, you can see where the various releases are. There was a 20.0.2 server. Do not use that one right there. That is, I'm actually surprised. Well, you can't download it here, but that should not be made available. That one's got some pretty serious problems with it. That shouldn't even be here. So anyway, but 20.0.3, that's why I'm here to talk to you. 0.0, go ahead, Marks.
Okay, sorry. Richard might have said this already, but has licensing changed? Is Claris still doing concurrent licensing? We bought a 5-year plan and it's up this year. 5 years ago, it was a concurrent user license.
Okay, so you can buy concurrent or you can buy user licensing. So concurrent, okay, so let's just, I'm going to use a round number. I have 10 people. We want license for 10 people. 10 people at user licensing will be, well, actually, let's do a 5-pack because I can quote that exactly. That's about $1,000, something like that. You can go in there and get the number out of that. If you buy 5 people concurrent, it's 3 times the cost is the factor in there for that. And you're like, how is that possible? Once again, if you have if you have 50 people in your organization that might need FileMaker, but only a couple of them are going to ever access it at one time, then buying 5 concurrency makes sense. Yeah, the number is 3 times. So if you had at least 15 people using it very, very, very randomly, very sparingly, then buying 5 concurrencies would be fine. But if you have people that are in there like 30, 40, 50% of the time or more, then you buy the user licensing. You're better off that way. So you could go either way on that. And then you can buy perpetual or subscription. My suggestion, the cheapest avenue on all this is pay the annual subscription and buy the user licensing. And you're like, well, I have to pay every year, but it's a known commodity. You can budget for it, right? And at the end of the day, for most of all of us, the FileMaker licensing is the cheapest part of the whole deal, right? I mean, you're like, well, FileMaker, that's a lot of money. How much time did you spend building the solution? How much time did you spend paying for someone to build it, right? Odds are most of you have spent time-wise or money-wise, you probably invested $20,000 or $30,000 or more into a FileMaker solution because it does great things to help your organization. It kicks. I got a unsolicited mail today about someone who they said it was like really massively saves us a lot of time and money. And the people behind the boss said it really politically correct. And the technical staff said, no, it saved us an load of time and money was the exact words they used. Okay. It was not trivial. That's why we use the platform. The licensing should be the cheapest part of it. I understand wanting to get a good deal. My suggestion is user licensing on a subscription. That helps it keep simple. You don't have to try to calculate whether you might get an upgrade or not. And also you don't get the propensity to park on a version, camping. We're camping on a version. That's how you end up 10 years behind. Because, we have to buy a new one if we want to upgrade. Oh, I don't want to do that. Well, let's get a quote, and we'll have Fred get the quote, call Claris the other day. And then Fred's on vacation, everyone forgets, and then things get kicked down the road. So, Margaret, question.
I have a comment and a question from the person who's upgrading from 17. They said, cool that 21.0.2 is already out. I did not realize that. And that seems like that'll be better than first doing 20 and then 21. Thanks.
I'd go that way. Yeah, go ahead.
Next question from Goblin Jerky. I still love that call sign. How does concurrency work with WebDirect users? Do they count towards that number?
Yeah, they do. So here's the deal. WebDirect, so the way licensing works for Pro, Go, or WebDirect, the licenses are intended to be the same. They expect that your users, and your users by Claris's definition are kind of employees in your company or contractors or some sort of asset that you should be able to know their name is the idea. If you have user licensing, I think technically the contract says that or implies this, that you should be able to name these people if asked to do it, now the Claris has never in a million years asked anyone for this, but if you could say Sally Jones, Fred Smith, Mohammed Alejandro or something, whatever, you can name all these people, right? Then that's user licensing. But if you really don't know their names, or it might be these 50 people, but they do concurrency, that's fine. That's what Claris intends for this licensing. The problem, and this is kind of it's like the 800-pound gorilla or elephant in the room, right? Sitting in the room and we're all ignoring it, is that if you want to do public-facing access to the FileMaker solution, that's not really easily done. Claris is working on a add-on product called Claris Studio. Notice that I don't really talk about it too much because it's still in the development stage to the point where I really want to use it. In fact, I talked to the product manager about it 3 days ago at Claris here, and they're continuing to work on it, make it better. So that product is supposed to allow people who buy if you have a current license, then you could get access to Connect and access to Studio to extend FileMaker. So they're working on that. They are trying to address these limits in the product and the platform. But does that make sense about the licensing? So really, GoPro and WebDirect are intended for people that you know. Here's what happens. People build WebDirect websites and they provide public access to it, okay? If you're doing that, buy concurrent licensing or buy user, whatever, buy licensing. If FileMaker Server thinks that you're going crazy with it, it will alert you saying, hey, of the 10 seats you bought, 9 of them are in use, and if the 11th person tries to log in, we're going to tell them they can't log in. So, but I have people who do public-facing websites with WebDirect. I get that. I understand it. It can work for that. I just think that there's better answers, but Claris has to bring those answers to us. They've got products on the roadmap to do that. That is taking more time than I would want it to take. Does that make sense, Margaret?
It does.
So,
but I'm also going to derail you before you get too far down that rabbit hole because we have questions. We're running out of time.
Okay, stop. Just so everyone knows, I'm not going anywhere. I will stay here until the questions are answered. So go.
Okay. We're working with Alex Felix, one of your developers. We're
Sure.
jumping together a solution for my company. Do you know if the latest FM server is stable with the newest Mac OS 14.5?
Yeah, we use it quite a bit. I'm using 2102 a lot. In fact, that's what I'm using right here. So this is this machine right here that I'm on right now is a Studio. It's a couple years old. It runs just fine, and I'm always using the 21 client, and I'm connecting generally to a 21 server, although I sometimes connect to a 20 server. It's fine. Works great.
Okay, cool. Actually, I think we're good on the questions. The concurrency person who asked about the WebDirect stuff said that was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And if you still have questions after this, email us, shoot us an email to support@rcconsulting.com and we'll try to help you. If you have an older solution, and you want to try it on 21 and it's not like a crazy solution with like connections to Oracle or something, let us know. We can park it on a server and you can try it for a couple of weeks. We can legally do that. So we'll see if Claris yells at me about it. But at the end of the day, we're trying to help you make a better decision in what you purchase and how you purchase it. And if I can answer your questions and educate you and make you feel better, or maybe not, but you're educated, you can make a better decision. I think that has high value. Trouble spots. If you're upgrading from really old versions, if you're on 17, you might be okay at a 21. But if you're like on 12 or something going to 21, if you any point in your system sends out emails, you need to test that, which is once again the test server, the test software versus the live one. Email has been around since the beginning of the internet. It was really created to allow email communications from the U.S. Department of Defense is where it came from. And then other universities got into it. Then other people said, hey, this is really great. Can we use this ourselves? Email keeps changing because bad people keep doing bad things with email. And every time some bad person does something with it, the email providers turn up the security, which makes it harder for applications to send and receive email. It's not Claris's fault, not my fault, not your fault. It's just, unless you're a bad person and you're trying to hack people's stuff, then you're a bad person and you're contributing to the problem with email. So plan on having to review the email and to maybe change the way it works a little bit, the mechanics of how it sends, right? is what gets changed. If your database server, your FileMaker server, talks to other servers, like it talks to SQL or MySQL or some other database system, you're going to have to install ODBC drivers, some sort of technology on your FileMaker server. Plan on doing that, okay? That just plan on, on your test server to do that. Because the whole idea with the test server is once it's going and it's really doing great, then you just relabel it to live and you shut the other one down. You move the master file over, but your test server will become the live server. So you're investing in your future server that will be your live server, right? So moving forward on that, other known trouble spots, printing. You're just going to want to check your printing. Two parts of printing. Printing to paper, like trees and stuff, and the other one's printing to PDFs. You're just going to want to test these to make sure they work as expected. There are areas that you could see changes in, especially if you're going from like FileMaker 10 to FileMaker 21 or something. I would expect the printings all need to not have to rebuild it, but you're going to have to, this margin's cut off, or like stuff like that, right? Same with PDFs. What else we got? Larger, more complex solution. Once again, some of you are internal in-house developers. Awesome. If you need assistance, find a good consultant that's going to help you. If you don't have a good consultant, send an email to support. RC Consulting will help you with that. Claris Corporation, the people here, the department at Apple, cannot really help you with this. They're not staffed to do developer kind of stuff. So just understand, if you call Claris, where I'm at right now, they're going to be like, we're going to send you to someone else to get the help. So just understand that. If you're an in-house developer, watch videos, learn about this stuff. But if you need more specific help, reach out. Find a consultant that you like. That would be the way I would do it. So here's the deal. At the end of the day, this sounds like a lot of work, okay? Let me just say that there are huge payoffs for this. Next Thursday, we're going to be talking about a conversation about making the case for FileMaker and the return on investment that comes with that. But newer versions of FileMaker are many times faster. For example, between FileMaker 16 and 17, the open speed of opening a FileMaker file went up by 300%. I stopwatched it. It was crazy. And they did some things to rejigger how it worked internally. So then when it would open a file, it went way faster. 21 seconds would become like 5 or 6, 7 seconds. 21 seconds is long enough for you to lose track and get up and go get a coffee or something. It's not good behavior. You want things to be faster than that. So, but historically, if you look at all the features and all the performance boosts, the product is hundreds and hundreds of times faster than it was in its earlier incarnation. So it's very important. Lastly, features. Improvements, encryption, fast remote access. There's a FileMaker Pro, FileMaker 24 Pro comparison. Just type on your browser FileMaker version comparison, and it will show you, and I'll end with this, it will show you this page right here. And what I would do is I would start at the bottom of the page. So if you start, just trust me on this, at the very bottom, these are the features that were added in FileMaker 6. So then added in 7, and remember it's cumulative, right? Then added in 8. And so say you're on FileMaker 12. Well, I got FileMaker 12. Then you have all this stuff right here. Then everything above here is the upgrade stuff that you get. Button bars, button icons, infield labels. That's big stuff there. Field level encryption if you need that. JSON functions. All sorts of other stuff. Copy paste custom menus. Custom menus are from hell, from Satan. I don't use those. but the marketing department put it in here anyway because they don't know it's always been bad. It's just one of those things. It's like if you have a car, it's your favorite car, and it does the one thing you hate about that car. That's it. All sorts of new stuff, recursions, better, faster calculations, file-based script functions. These are all we're just up to 18. Never mind 19. Never mind 20. Never mind this 20. Never mind this 20. Look at all this stuff. It's like a encyclopedia for those of you old enough to know even what that is. It's like a giant, it's a printed wiki. If you print wiki, that's an encyclopedia. How about that? Translation.
We have a slightly off-topic question, which I'll toss out anyway.
Sure.
RCC more in general than FileMaker. This is from the person who is working with Alex Felix. Just a bit off topic, do each of your developers focus on their own specific areas, such as QuickBooks or AI, etc.? Sometimes I wonder if the developer I'm working with is the right one.
Yeah, it depends. So all the developers have natural natural tendencies to want to do certain things. I have a developer or a couple of them that do QuickBooks at RCC. I have other ones that do, PHP based pages and things like that, and other ones that do synchronization stuff. And we also have Jacob Taylor, who's the server guy, who's really the server expert. So if any consultancy, a consultancy would say like 10 or 20 people in it, if you have a main point of contact, that point of contact can get you help from other people in the organization, and you get that benefit. If you are a one-man band kind of person, right? Even when I started off at RCC years ago, I was a one-person person. The reality is there's only so much one person can do, and this platform has gotten considerably larger since 1990 when I got into it. So it does a lot more. It's a lot more features. It's hard for one person to know how to do all of it. So if you're working with a consultancy, us or anyone else, and they have a team, ask them for help on something. Say, hey, can you get someone else at RCC to help you with this part? Because odds are that someone else has that skill set at that company, right? It's going to be hard to find one developer at any company who can do it all. Even Jacob Taylor, who we all loved as FileMaker Server, sometimes he comes to me on how to code something, right? Because I know more about making FileMaker go than he does. But he's a ninja at the FileMaker Server installs and all the interactions with the JSON and all that other data that goes on there, XML and stuff like that. So yeah, just make a request. If you have questions or comments about RCC and you want to ask a question, shoot an email to support@rcconsulting.com, because the management team at RCC monitors that as well. So if you want to reach out to someone, do that.
I have another question. I have server 19.6. Can I run FM Pro 21 with that?
Technically, if I go to the specifications here, so once again, you do a search for FileMaker 2024 technical specifications. If I go down here to not languages supported, interoperability. So he's saying that he has FileMaker
19.6 server.
19.6 server. But if he has Pro 21.
Yes.
You can go all the way back to right here. You can use 19.6 server, 19.5 server, all the way back to 19.4 server.
Cool. Yeah. No,
So the answer is yes, but you're right on the edge there. So just remember that.
Cool. There we go. But yeah, about the QuickBooks question, they're like, yeah, I'm going to need someone with QuickBook and AI expertise. So they are talking to Jacob Taylor. They apparently have a meeting with him on Tuesday. So.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, Jacob Taylor's great on that. Calvin's probably the best QuickBooks person we have. The AI stuff is still kind of new.
It's still super new. Do we have any?
Well, the people are playing with it. Nick's done some stuff with it. The rub is that I think trying to marry people's expectations to reality on that is going to be tricky, because it's in its initial incarnations with Claris, and it doesn't scale well. Like if we did the semantic search, it doesn't scale into hundreds of thousands of records, things like that very well yet. So if you have specific ideas of what you want it to do, then we need to make sure that will scale appropriately with FileMaker. So, yeah. All right, cool. That is it for today. So if questions, comments, you want help, or you want us to park your file on the FileMaker server for a couple weeks free of charge, and you can try it out, send an email to support@rcconsulting.com.
Yes, absolutely. Have a good one, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.